going to start up by correcting the homework from Monday. So we went through Pythagoras Theorem on Monday, which was that c squared equals a squared plus b squared, and then we learned that c is the hypotenuse, a is the opposite, and b is the adjacent side of the triangle. Okay, so just get some lines. Right. First one here, there's your hypotenuse because it's opposite the right angle. And then it doesn't really matter with the other two, so we call this the opposite and this the adjacent. Sorry, I should have done this. So this is C, this is A, this is B. Okay. So for part A, C squared equals A squared plus B squared. We get X squared equals 6 squared plus 8 squared. X squared equals 36 plus 64. X squared equals 100. And then square root both sides. And we get x equals 10. Okay, for B, hypotenuse is x again, which is C. I'm going to call this the opposite, A. And this is the adjacent, B. And Pythagoras again. And we get x squared equals 35 squared plus 12 squared. Okay, so 35 squared is 1, 2, 2, 5, and 12 squared is 1, 4, 4. So that's 1369. Square root, square root. So x is the square root of that, which is 37. Part B. Okay, part C. Back up. Here's the hypotenuse, 110 because it's, or sorry, 101 because it's opposite the right angle. I'm going to call this the opposite, A, and this one here is the adjacent, B. So again, just get in the habit of writing your Pythagoras theorem down every time. 101 squared equals a squared plus 20 squared. So 101 squared is 10,201, a squared plus 400. I'm trying to isolate the a squared, so I'll get rid of the 400 with the opposite, which is a minus 400. But if I do that on the right hand side of the equals, I have to do it on the left hand side of the equals, so I'm minus 400. So 10,201 minus that is 9,801. And all that's left on this side is a squared. And again, square root to isolate the a. And I'm getting 99. So x, or sorry, I should have put x in there. I left it as a. Still 99. Okay, and the last one. I'm just going to write down Pythagoras theorem again. And we'll go back up then and pick out our three sides. So the 41 is the hypotenuse, or the C, because it's opposite the right angle. And same as all the others, the other side, it doesn't matter which way you go. You should still get the same answer. Okay, 41 and 40. So 41 squared for C, 40 squared for A, and then we don't know B, it's labelled as X. So 41 squared is 1681. 40 squared, should know that one, is 1600 plus x squared. This is a plus 1600, so to remove it, I need to do a minus 1600, and that will get rid of it. Minus 1600 on the right means I need to minus 1600 on the left. 1681 minus 1600 is 81. for x squared, and then square root, again, both sides to remove the square, and you get x equals 9. Okay, so that's the homework. Let me know if there's any issues with that. Please take down any answers where you did not get the right answer. And we will keep going. So we started this with Pythagoras Theorem, and now I'm going to move on to the trigonometric ratios. Okay, so that's your heading, trigonometric ratios. Now, I'm going to do this again from the table book. Okay, so this page again is page 18 out of the table book. We know that C is the hypotenuse because it's opposite the right angle. If you have a marked angle, then opposite that is the opposite, and that makes the other one the adjacent. Okay, and here, this bit, hang on, let me get a square. This stuff here are your trigonometric ratios. Okay, so the first one is sine, and it says the sine of the angle is A over C. And we can tell from up here that A is the opposite and C is the hypotenuse. Okay, and if you look over here at sine, it's opposite over hypotenuse, and that's what the table book says. For cosine, it's B over C. B is the adjacent and C is the hypotenuse. And again, if you look up, there's cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. And then the last one, which is the tan or the tangent, is A over B. So A is the opposite and B is the adjacent. Okay, and again, tan is opposite over adjacent. There's no need to learn these things over here because they're in the table book. Okay, and again, provided you can label this triangle, they're all there ready for you. Okay, so we'll have a look at this question. ABC is a right angle triangle as shown. Complete the following tables. Okay, so you'll notice that this table on the right, every time we're talking about angle A. So angle A is the angle that we care about. Okay, so now let's name our sides. So here's your right angle, which means 10 is the hypotenuse, or C. I have a marked angle A, and that's the one I'm concerned with here. So that makes 8 my opposites. And then the odd one out is my adjacent, which is 6. Okay, so they've done sine, great. So next we're going to do cosine, or cos, okay? So cos is B over C, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the adjacent is 6, and the hypotenuse is 10. And if you simplify that, you get 3 over 5. The tan then, so tan is A over B. A is the opposite, B is the adjacent. So it's the opposite, which is 8, over the adjacent, which is 6. And that's 4 over 3. Now, you can obviously you can, if you want, write that as 1 1/3 or 1 point, but it would be very unusual in trigonometry to not use a fraction, like a proper, I suppose it's an improper fraction, but a fraction where you have a numerator and denominator, not a mixed fraction where you have like 1 1/3. So I would leave that as 4 over 3. Okay, so that's that one. Now, in the second one, they are now talking about angle B. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and just erase this stuff. Okay, sorry now. So this time we're going to focus on angle B. Now, the hypotenuse has not changed. It never will. Okay, so that's still there. This time, the opposite is found opposite the marked angle, and the marked angle that we're concerned about is B. So now 6 is my opposite, making 8 my adjacent. Sorry, that's B, and that's A. Okay, so sine. So sine is here. It's A over C, which is opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite is 6, and the hypotenuse is 10. Simplifies to 3/5. The cos is B over C, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. So we take the adjacent, which is 8, and put it over the hypotenuse, which is 10. So that's 4 over 5. And then they've done the tan. The tan is A over B, or opposite over adjacent. So that is 6 over 8, which is what they've done. And then they simplified it to 3/4. Okay, so that's just using your formula. Okay, so let's have a look at this one. Consider the triangle ABC. The side BC has a length of x units and the hypotenuse is 8 units in length. BAC is 35. Use the diagram to write the sine of 35 as a fraction in terms of x. Okay, so let's go again. Here's my right angle. So here's my hypotenuse, which is C. Here is my marked angle. So that makes this the opposite. And then this one down here is the adjacent B. I forgot to put in A again. Okay. Now, they're asking us to do sine. The sine of the angle. Okay, the angle in this case is 35. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite is x over the hypotenuse is 8. So use the diagram to write the sine of 35 as a fraction in terms of x. So in terms of x means x will be in the answer. Okay, use a calculator to find the value of sine 35. So to do that, you literally press, you'll see them on your calculator, you press the sine button on your calculator and you type in 35. Press equals, and this is what I'm getting, 0.573576, and it goes on. And they want us to give our answer to 1 decimal place. So here's 1 decimal place. And then I'm going to stop. So it either stays as 0.5 or it goes up 1. We decide that by looking at the next number. That number is greater than 5, which means it's going to push that up. So that's going to become 0.6. Okay, and that's the sine of 35 in my calculator. And use your answers from part A and part B to find the value of x. Okay, so part A said that the sine of 35 is equal to x over 8. So we know that the sine of 35 is 0.6, so I'm going to replace this with 0.6 equals x over 8. Now here, the x is being divided by 8, so algebraically I need to do the opposite of divided by 8, which is multiplied by 8, to get them to cancel. But if I multiply by 8 on the right hand side of the equals, then I'm going to have to balance it by multiplying by 8 on the left hand side. Okay, so 8 multiplied by 0.6 is 4.8 equals x. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. We'll do another one here. I do this one, hang on. No, that's practically the same. Right, we'll try this one. So, a girl standing 10 meters from the foot of a radio mast. Okay, so, don't know if there was meant to be a picture with this, but she will draw it anyway. So there's the girl, and she's standing 10 meters, and I'll look at a line, 10 meters, there you go, from a radio mast. So the radio mast, is in green. It looks like it's not straight, but it is. Okay, so she's 10 meters away from the radio mast, and she measures the angle of elevation. Okay, so that is, insert, we'll do should I change line again? Let's go red. Okay, so the angle of elevation is her looking up to the top of the mast, and that's 70 degrees. Find to the nearest meter the height of the mast. You may assume that the angle of elevation is taken from the ground. I did that anyway, okay? So the fact that it's her looking up, like it would be a fair argument that the angle of elevation is taken from there, but it's really hard to do the maths on that because it's not a triangle, I suppose. So pretty much always, unless stated otherwise, it's taken from the ground. Okay, so presuming the ground is level and the mast is level, then this is a right angle. They want to find the height of the mast, so this is our unknown. So let's label. So here's my right angle, which means this one over here is my hypotenuse, which is C. Here is my marked angle, which means this is the opposite, A. And then this other one here is the adjacent, B. Now, the reason I want to do this one is because in the first one we did there, they tell you to use sine. And in this one here, the reason I didn't do it is because they tell you to use cos. Normally, they don't tell you. So you need to figure it out. Is it sine? Is it cos? Is it tan? Now let's look at it, okay? So, we have the adjacent. The fact that we have it means it would make good sense to use it. We need, like, the opposite is what we need to find. That's the whole point of the question. So if you don't include that, you're not going to be able to answer the question. So we need to use that, okay? Each sine, cos, and tan, each of them are fractions, which means they include 2 of the 3 sides. So it's always acceptable that you leave one out. And in this case, the one we leave out is the hypotenuse, because we don't have it like this, and we don't need it like this. Okay, so it lifts right out. So what we're left with is opposite and adjacent. So which one of them is a combination of opposite and adjacent? Okay, if you remember, the opposite is A and the adjacent is B. Okay, so if you look here, tan is A over B. So that's the one I'm going to choose. So where is it? Here. So I'm going to choose tan. The angle is 70 and it's A over B. So the opposite goes first and the adjacent goes second. Okay, same logic as a minute ago. The x is being divided by the 10. So if I want to remove that 10 to isolate the x, I need to do the opposite of divided by 10, which is to multiply by 10. That multiplied by 10 will take out that divided by 10. But if I multiply by 10 over here, I need to do the same thing over here. Okay, so I'm going to multiply 10 by the tan is 70, and that will give me x. Okay, so 10 multiplied by tan 70, I'm just typing that into my calculator, and I'm getting 27.47477,419. Okay, this one says to the nearest meter. Okay, that means I stop here. Okay, they don't want a decimal point in it, they want it to be a whole number. So I still have to look here. If that number is 5 or greater, it will push the 27 up. The fact that it's less than 5 means it doesn't have the power to push it up, so it stays as 27. So the height of the mast is 27 meters. Okay? Okay, so make sure you take down all those notes. Pause it, rewind it, play it as much as you need to hopefully get a grasp on it. If you have any questions, let me know. And I have a couple of questions attached there. Where are they? Yeah, here. Okay, so each time you can see they've given 2 of the 3, which is what I explained here. One will always be leave outable. So you basically work off the 2 that they've given, and based on that decide whether it's sine, cos, or tan. Okay, I know this question asks you here to find the size of the angle, but don't worry about that last step. It's so easy to do, but don't worry about the last step. All I want you to do here is create your fractions and make sure you're choosing the right one between sine, cos, and tan. So your answer is going to be something like sine A is equal to 4 over 5. Done. And then the next one will be tan A is equal to 6 over 7. Done. Okay, and that's where you're going to stop. So it's just about naming your sides. The one with a big blank gets left out. You look at the 2 quantities that you have, whether they're opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse, and you pick from up here which one you're working with, whether it's sine, cos, or tan. Okay, and then on Friday, I'll show you how to actually complete these questions and find the angles. All right, so it'll be up on Schoology. I know some of you have been doing it, but it'd be really great if you could all upload your homework, just so I can have a look. I mean, there's no way I can look at everybody's every day, but I can have kind of get a sample and get an idea of how this is translating. All right, grand, I'll talk to you Friday.